please.
Blake,
Here.
Carberry Montgomery, Obrecht, Hoagie,
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. I will read the character count statement again. Urbandale is a national leader in character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Item 2 is approve the agenda. I'll ask for a motion in a second.
This is Pogie. Move the agenda.
Anybody want to second that?
Oh, Blake second?
Okay. Motion by Pogie, second by Blake. Discussion, roll call.
Hoagie,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Carberry Montgomery, Obrecht,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 3 is the mayor and council discussion for candidates for the temporary city council position. So earlier this afternoon, the council members were furnished with the 4 highest scoring candidates from last night based on your scoring from last night. So again, I just want to reiterate to the 8 that we had, thank you for all the 8. I mean, again, I think it was pretty much a consensus determination that all 8 that applied were fantastic choices, and we could not go wrong with any choice. So this is going to be difficult to get it. It was difficult even to get it from 8 to 4, but now we're going to probably have to go down here from 4, obviously, to try to find one and coalesce around one person tonight. So that's our job and task tonight for the council. And but I do appreciate everybody taking interest in this and stepping up and saying that they would be willing to serve in this temporary position. And I know I speak for the entire council when I say that. So with that, again, I'll lay out the names in no particular order, but I think we just need to start focusing on one from these 4, and that would be Mary Polson, Adam Caduce, Amy Kroll, and from Tom Gaiman. So with that, I am going to open it up for discussion for anybody. I'll certainly let everybody speak and from the council tonight to speak and to try to get, so we can try to get some coalescing around a particular person. But if you could just, maybe I'm looking at all the screen here, if you could just raise your hand and I'll recognize you and let you speak first. So who would like to start us off? Ron, I'll recognize you first.
Well, I'm not going to advocate a particular person quite yet, but first I want to compliment the mayor because by this fishing expedition, you have numerous people to appoint to commission and boards over the coming years, I think. So that's a definite side benefit. As I look at it and listen to the interviews, I think it's real clear we have to make a choice between whether we want somebody experienced or somebody who may not have experience on the council or maybe even experience in government. You can advocate both ways, but we're different than we were a year ago. A year ago, I would be pounding the table that we have to have an experienced person. I don't think that's true. I think all 4 of the final top candidates we can look at, and matter of fact, any of the 8, I think we would be happy to serve with them. But I think these top 4, any of them are qualified to serve. Yes, they're going to drop in the middle of the budget, but that's just the way it is. And we all started off with the first year on the budget and tried to figure out city finances, and they can do it just like we did. So I think any of these 4 are qualified, and it's just, I think we have to make a decision. Do we want to go with experience or do we want to go with new blood, so to speak. So that's my 2 cents as to how I'm approaching it.
All right, thanks, Ron. You want to speak in? Adam, I see your hand next.
Yeah, I agree with Ron that I think we got 4 great candidates here, and going through the process, we had 4. These 4 kind of scored a little better than the rest, but we've got a lot of other places for volunteers and people to work in the city. So hopefully we see all 8 continuing to move forward at some point in the process. But the one thing I wasn't sure of was, Mayor, did you also score the candidates as well?
I did not. Since
Would
I
you
don't have
care to share? Yeah, would you care to share your input a little bit for us too tonight, or not?
Well, on all 4 of these candidates, I'm fully supportive of, but I didn't go through and score individually like the council members did. There was just I didn't think that was appropriate, given that I don't have a vote on that. So.
Okay.
David?
I have known 3 of these 4 candidates for a long time. And Amy, I've never, maybe I've met her, but I don't think I've worked with her, but she looks, eminently qualified as well. The 3 that I do know, I know that they have really poured a lot of time and hours in their heart and soul, certainly, in serving Urbandale. And I think they're all 3 equally qualified. I realize one hasn't been on council, but that person's also been on CIP and a dozen. I mean, every time you go to an event, you see him around. So I think he and his entire family have been pretty much Urbandale for years and years. So it's a tough one. I agree with Ron. I think these are 4 eminently qualified, and if we're looking for experience, quite frankly, I think 3 of the 4 have experience. But there again, maybe the 4th one too. I've not worked with her, so I don't know how much experience she has. So certainly those 3, I would be very comfortable with.
Bridget, I see you next. Bridget, go ahead.
Hi, hold on just a second. Okay, well, I guess one of my top considerations is that, we just elected, 3 council members last year. Matt was definitely the top vote getter, and I think we have a responsibility to our community this close to that election, to replace with someone that shares a similar set of beliefs and priorities than Matt. And I guess I feel quite strongly that that Amy Krall has a very tremendous set of skills that she would bring to. I've not worked with her either, but she's lived here longer than I have. She's been actively engaged in the human services, and I think that is something, I mean, Mary as well, that, and especially in her time since she's been on the council, I think having that either from Mary or Amy on our council, someone that really knows the needs from a human services level. I think coming out of COVID, we're really going to be seeing a lot more need in our community, as we already are now. I think having someone with a more human services background would be really helpful. But I do think it's really important that we honor the community's vote for Mr. Blake, Captain Blake. I don't know. What are we supposed to call you now?
You can choose whatever title you want.
Don't give me that much way. But those are some of my initial thoughts. And I just also wanted to say, the papers that we were handed or, dropped on our porch, I knew some of the candidates. I didn't know some of the candidates. I wasn't particularly excited about it. And then my socks were knocked off last night. And like Ron said, I think we have some amazing folks that we need to figure out how to engage, maybe not on the city council, but in different ways in our community. Just clearly had some folks that did their homework. And I was really, really impressed by that. So that's what I got for now.
All right, thank you, Bridget. Matt, you're.
Yep. Last one I hadn't spoken, at least for the first round. And I kind of was waiting to go last. Again, this is for my seat, so to speak. So I wanted, I'm so happy that it's repeat everybody that this was a phenomenal group of individuals. Like, I could not believe the quality of people living in our community that had bubbled to the top when it came to this. So I fully expect to see every one of these individuals in some capacity, whether it's boards, commissions, UCAN, food pantry, et cetera, on down the line. And I think I will echo kind of Ron's statement for a moment that I do think that there is this difference now, kind of the new blood versus experience, and that's maybe kind of a way to frame our conversation, at least to begin. I don't know how else to do so unless we're just going to each start picking who we like. And I've been upfront, and I'll be upfront, and it was said as yesterday, the person I asked initially before we decided that the application process was more transparent and probably a better way to make sure that all the council people had a voice in the selection process, because you are the ones that will ultimately be the one that deals with them, was Mary Paulson. And I will be backing and supporting Mary Paulson at this point in time. Because I do believe that her experience, her ability to work within the community, getting off council and then working with UCAN, and then, I asked her last year to be on the 4th of July committee, and she's like, yep, sounds good, make it work. And so a person that does not hesitate to put Urbandale first in all categories is somebody that I think would be good to replace me on the council. So that's who, at this point in time, I am supporting. But I think that there is a good conversation to be had about whether the experience, whether we want that or not. But that's where I stand, and I hope for more vigorous debate from all of you.
All right, thanks. Ron, I'll recognize you.
I just want to address a couple things that were said last night, and then again what Bridget said today. I don't think we need to select a Matt clone to be on the council. I think this is an independent person who should stand on their own. I don't expect them to confer with Matt as far as their voting. I think it's entirely independent, and I would be very hard pressed on these 4 individuals to say which one most closely mimics Matt's positions, because to be honest, I've served with Matt for a year, so I wouldn't presume to try to say what his position on everything is, but it's so, I think it's very difficult in the basis of just an interview last night to say, well, this person matches up, or we try to do that. We could pick a law degree and look for someone with a law degree. We could pick, someone who lobbies and try to match that. So I think we just need to look at these candidates individually and say, who could serve Urbandale best for the next 6 to 9 months.
All right, David.
Well, first of all, no one could be a clone of Matt Blake. There's only one original, so it'd be darn tough to do that. So I'm not really necessarily sure, that we have to have a clone. But also, by the same token, Bridget makes a good point about social services and the pandemic. But we're going to be faced with several other issues here in the next 9 months. We're getting ready to roll out a comp plan So that certainly is going to be, take quite a bit of time. For economic development, you know, that's something that's ongoing, but there are some people kicking tires. We got this Merle Hay project up there that's going, and maybe something with the Bucks is going, maybe something with the old, where the Bucks are located down off of Hickman. So there's other things that certainly are going to be happening in the life of our city for the next year. And, well, I tell you, when you look at the two ex-councilmen, you know, you say, boy, these guys know. I guess I give the nod to Tom only because in the sense that it's only been a year since Tom was, quote, in the driver's seat. And Mary, of course, you know, who does a great job, but it has been 11 years since Mary, although she's been around, she's been involved. But if you're going to put somebody in the driver's seat, I think we'd probably take the person that was most recently on the council and kind of knows the ropes. And again, the budget is important, but I agree with Ron. I'm not so sure that should be decisive in who we select, because I think all four candidates could certainly put their arms around the budget and wrestle with it. And plus, they've got guidance from staff. You know, Nikki's great, AJ. So there's a lot of guidance there. So I'm not necessarily putting so much emphasis on who can jump in and wrestle the budget with us, as much as I am, what are the ongoing things that we have coming down the pike? And again, Tom's been there for about a year now. It's only been a year. But by the same token, Adam, of course, you know, Adam, as I said before, everywhere you go in Urbandale, there's Adam. Adam's been on the CIP. Adam knows the workings of Urbandale inside and out. So maybe it does come down to what what Ron said. I mean, do we want put a replacement who's been on council, or do we want some new blood? And if we want some new blood and youth, then certainly I believe that Adam's the guy. So I guess I'm going back and forth between Tom and Adam.
All right, Adam?
Well, the name Adam's getting tossed out a lot tonight, so not sure I want to always be called the other Adam on the council with Mr. Caduce. So, but I guess to me, I broke it down into two groups of those that had served and those that hadn't served. So Amy and Adam, as well as Tom and Mary, were the rankings that I had as kind of the two groups. But for me, you know, having been able to serve with Caduce on the CIP and kind of the conversations he had there and the professionalism he brought to that, it just had that experience with him recently, as well as in the interview. And I guess I ranked him as my top. So while having another Adam on the council might be a little confusing, for me, I guess I lean towards Caduce just because of the experience that I've had with him recently, as well as, you know, going back. I mean, when I first started getting into politics in Urbandale and with an EJ Giovanetti process, you know, Adam Caduce was right there in the middle of it too. And so I've known him since his high school days, I think it was. And so all along, he's just continued to be involved, continued to be there. It's just more of a familiarity with him probably than anybody else, even though Mary and Tom both helped in my campaign this past year. So I've been fortunate to get to know those three. But again, Amy super impressed me through the interview process. But that's just my experience, is just that little bit of time. So leaning back on the more length of time of knowing Caduce is where he kind of edges Amy out in my mind.
Okay. Matt or Bridget, any further comments? Bridget?
I guess I'll speak my my piece here. I think the excitement that Amy would bring and a completely new perspective, like all of us, none of us have worked with her, but I was thoroughly impressed with the knowledge that she had of what we're doing. I don't think there would be any problem with her jumping in And I just strongly feel like we need someone with a human services background. I think the Urbandale City Council has gone from lawyers and developers a couple of years ago exclusively, and now we're expanding our career paths with Adam and I, and I think it would be great to see someone with a new skill set. That being said, I think the last 10 or 11 years, Mary has done anything but be retired. I mean, she's put her whole heart into serving our community through UCAN, the Centennial, you know, you name it, Mary's there. So I'll say if we're going for new, Amy has my support. And I mean, I've been with Mary on this journey since she recruited another member of my household to run for city council. So I owe a great deal of gratitude to Mary as well. But again, I think we've shown last year with a majority of new members on the council that we could do the budget process with a bunch of newbies. I'm not terribly worried about someone that doesn't have budget experience. I think it's interesting, you know, Amy lives right there by the mall, that she could add a really unique perspective and hopefully, like, you know, bring some neighbors along in the process with as we work through the redevelopment of that eastern part of our community. So those, that's where I'm at. I know Adam and Tom have done a great deal for our community, but I just feel much more strongly for Amy and Mary to replace Matt temporarily.
Okay, I think I saw Ron's, Matt, I saw Ron's hand first, and then you raised it, but I'm gonna recognize Ron first, and then I'll get to you, Matt.
Well, I think we could all spend most of the night talking about this, and it's somewhat complicated by the fact I think we're all friends with at least two or more of the four people, which makes it awkward in the best sense. And so in an effort to move it forward, you know, I'll take a risk and make a motion here that we elect. Well, let me back up here.
We're not gonna be taking any
Mayor,
motions.
are we voting tonight, or are we
No.
gonna vote on Tuesday?
No, we're not voting tonight. I should have made that clear at the beginning, but we're not gonna vote tonight. You know, again, I think the idea was to maybe have some idea, but then it would officially be voted on at next week's council meeting.
Well, my position is that on Tuesday, I would support Adam Caduce to be to fill the council seat based on his experience, his youth, and his enthusiasm. And I've never been on a group where we had Adam 1 and Adam 2. So for all those reasons.
Okay, Matt?
I'll just give my perspective again. You know, again, I will echo my support for Mary. Yet again, I won't reiterate what I just said my first go around on all this. But again, if we're looking at it from the perspective of experience versus new blood, I will throw my support for new blood behind Amy. Adam, I like Adam. He came to one of my fundraisers. He donated to my campaign. We've gotten coffee several times. I respect everything he does in this community, and I think he would be and he has and will continue to be a phenomenal champion for Urbandale. But when it comes to, I think and which is why I asked that question, every single time of what are your specific priorities. Because to me, that it illustrated kind of you had thought through this beyond just kind of the platitude, so to speak. But then two, it got that. I was curious, like, because this person's taking my seat, what priorities would be moving forward, and I believe between Mary and Amy had those priorities that I think reflected what I would want moving forward. So that's why, again, if there's some credence towards what my opinion is, because this is my seat, again, you all have to work with this individual, so I respect that fact. I'm just hoping that there's some weight that's carried with the fact that this is, I fought hard for it, and I apologize that I have to leave. I wish I didn't have to, but I hope that brings some credence and some weight towards it. And if we're doing an experience versus versus new blood, I'm happy to kind of break it down, and then I could peel off one way or the other on that. But that's just kind of my 2 cents on this. I know Ron just kind of made a suggestion for Caduce. Again, I just want to let my voice be heard on this. I hope you give some deference to what my choice would be. But again, it's ultimately a majority decision, and that is the beauty of democracy, and so I will continue. But I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that as we move forward.
All right, thanks, Matt. Adam, you asked my thoughts earlier. I guess again, I did not score, again, because I thought the process was such that it was not set up for me to score, and I didn't think it was appropriate for me to score. But honestly, again, any of these four are very, any of the 8, and certainly any of these final 4 that you're talking about are certainly all highly qualified folks. And they all have their strengths and weaknesses. I think you've all gone through those, they're all, I'm familiar with all of them. Some are very good friends of mine as well. And so, yes, we are making sausage here, but we're doing this in a public forum, and we are doing this because that's the way local government works, and local government is transparent. And so, I realize the awkwardness of having to discuss our friends and our acquaintances and their relative strengths and weaknesses, but that's where we come down to it, and that's what we're faced with. And I think any of these 4 would be very well suited to serve in this temporary capacity. I think any of these 4, if they had run for council, could easily be elected by the constituents of our city. So it's not an easy task to do this, but I guess I don't have any strong feelings, honestly, of any of these 4, other than to say they all have unique qualifications and are all fully suited to serve if they were to be placed in this vacant seat for this temporary position. And I'd be happy to serve with any of them whenever we kind of coalesce around a final decision. So with that, Adam, I see your hand up.
That didn't help us much.
I'm sorry. If you want me to pick one, then...
No, and I guess it kind of comes down to, just reading conversations. So David's mentioned Caduce, Ron's mentioned him, I've mentioned him. Bridget and Matt, would you object to him? It's not that he might not be your number 1 pick, but would you object to him being the pick on Tuesday night?
At this point, that's pretty irrelevant if he has 3 people in support, but I would not vote to support him.
David?
Whoever it is, Rich, I'm sure that whoever this candidate is, it's someone that we can all work with, for sure. And if Adam's the guy, I think I certainly could work with him. And I know your personality, I believe. I think you could work. And Matt won't be around. He'll be over sitting in the stand somewhere, probably drinking cold ones. Is how those officers always had, the kind of duty that I saw anyway. But I think,
General order number one, we can't drink at all, so no.
but I think that whoever's in that position is somebody that I would hope that we could all, maybe we would disagree. You know, you and I have had our disagreements, but we work together. Actually, we've had more agreements than I think disagreements. So if Adam is in the position and for the reasons that have been stated, I would put my support behind him. And, but I would look forward to all of us working with him. And we may not necessarily agree with every position he takes either. And he and I could be, you know, taking opposite views on different items that may come before the council. But I think he brings a lot of experience. He certainly knows Urbandale. And it's a conversation beginning to, as the mayor says, coalesce around, yeah, coalesce, there you go. I would say I would be in support of Adam being the guy.
I have no doubt that I can work with him, but one of the reasons that I ran for city council is because I was not a commercial real estate agent. And I struggle with both Tom and Adam's and Tom's no longer involved with R&R, but I feel there's just too many opportunities for conflicts there. I think Adam, I mean, I did fine with him, working with him on the CIP. I have no doubt he is committed to Urbandale and would do a fine job. I just feel very strongly that I would rather vote for someone else. So, I take things more personally than I probably should. So I'm bringing some of that to the table as well. So, I've laid my cards out and everybody else has laid them out. So, yeah, I'll have no problem working with Adam, but I'm not going to make a unanimous vote. Matt's probably more diplomatic, and that's why he's a lobbyist than I am, but I have to vote with my heart, and my heart is elsewhere.
Okay. Ed, did you have anything? Go ahead.
You know, the question was asked to me, where would I stand? And Bridget is correct. I would be slightly more diplomatic, but I will say that again, I've laid out that my preferences, my two, I would say my top two. You know, ultimately, I don't know if I will have to ponder over the next week whether I would vote yes or no. But you know, would I think that Adam would not be a qualified individual to take the seat? I mean, his credentials are spotless. I would not argue with that. And I know ultimately you are selecting the person that you would like to take my spot, and that will serve with you. I'm leaving. I'm going to be doing something else in the middle of the desert, as Russell said, and that's true. But as I've already stated, there is a priorities that I think my preferred candidates would probably focus on a little bit more. Which, and again, I know Ron said we couldn't get a perfect clone, but I think they would match up closer to where my priority list for this community would be. Ultimately, you know, I won't have sour grapes. If that's an issue, I won't have issue ultimately if Adam Caduce is brought on. But if and I think I will do everything I possibly can to provide him information. If there are ways that we can communicate while I'm gone, I'm happy to do so. Whoever takes a seat, I will be happy to do that with. But as I've already stated, there are some preferences that I've had, and I don't know if Adam completely aligns with where I think the vision for the community would go. But I do not think he would do a bad job by any means. But I will have to ponder where my vote would lead. But I think it would. But I don't think you would be the city and the council would be ill-equipped or Caduce would do wrong with the city. I think he would do his darnest to serve in this capacity. But I don't know if that's a glowing report. This is just kind of a stream of consciousness now. But that's kind of where I'm sitting on that decision if the council goes that way.
All right, thanks, Matt. Let me just try to put some more thoughts on this and again, this is a difficult decision, and we're doing this in a public forum, which makes it even more difficult. And we have to decide on one person, and that's just where we are. If we had four, there are 4 people that could easily, there are 8 people that could easily do this, and certainly 4, as I've said. We have to decide on one person. This is a temporary position. All 4 of these people are eminently qualified. We don't all agree, the existing council we don't all agree on every issue, but we certainly came up with a strategic plan last year and we coalesced around that. We don't all agree on our individual votes, but I think we do a pretty good job of coming to a consensus on bigger issues throughout that we're entrusted with deciding, and we're going to continue to do that. So it's about consensus. Unlike some other levels of government, I think we do a pretty good job of consensus when we need to come to consensus. And so we're not always going to agree on every single point. We're not always going to fully align on every single issue, but I think we have a broad strategic priority and plan for our city. I think whoever steps into this seat is going to respect our existing strategic plan. And as we move forward and make some very big decisions, not only in the next year, but in the next few years, whoever's in that seat and on any other seat has to respect that and work together. So this is a very difficult decision, but again, I think any one person that you would decide on could easily fulfill that role. Although we might not agree on every individual decision, we're going to work together and come to consensus and do the best job that we can for our constituents, because that's what we're here for. So, with that, I don't know if anybody's got any further thoughts, but I guess that's my parting thoughts on where we are tonight. Either you're all frozen or I put you to sleep. Adam?
Yeah, so next step in the process, obviously, is Tuesday night, having a regular agenda item that we can make the actual action motion on it. From tonight's discussion, are we anticipating that would be Caduce at this point?
I think there won't be there has to be a motion and a second and a vote on it. We're not doing that tonight. I think as Bridget said, everybody's laid their cards on the table. I think we kind of know where things stand, but I think there has to be a motion and a second, and between now and next week, one of you could change your mind. So I think we need to abide by the democratic process and abide by parliamentary procedure and do it that way. So I don't think we're going to presume that Adam is the choice until that's actually voted on at a council meeting in open session.
Yeah, it's just most motions that we see obviously have a pre-scripted motion, and so that's why I was just curious if we'd have a pre-scripted motion for this or more of an open-ended agenda item for it.
I think more of an open-ended agenda item, the motion to fill the vacancy. And we have to the extent that there's a motion and a second. Nicole is a fast typer. She can put that person's name in and there'll be a vote on it.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, then I'll ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
This is Ron. I'd move to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Russell.
Okay, motion by Pogie, second by Russell. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned, everyone. Thank you very much for, and again, thank you to all the candidates. I know we have a number here tonight. I want to give a last parting thank you to everybody who threw their hat in the ring to fill this role. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.